Hello, and welcome back to Adults After Dark. My name is Mimi, and I am your host for the evening. I would like to take the time to thank everyone who has tuned in tonight and who has been tuning in to each and every weekend. Um, Adults After Dark airs every Friday at 7 p.m. This is an excuse me. This is an adult audio conversation. So we do ask that you do not listen to this in front of minors. Some of the language and some of the topics may not be suitable to the young ear. Okay. Also, we would love for you guys to leave comments down below so we can read some of your comments on air and get some response to them. Yes, so we do encourage you to leave a comment. We are on episode number 12. This is the second episode of the new year. So if you have not listened to episodes 1 through 11, go ahead and do so. And of course, you may still leave comments even though those are previous episodes. We will still read those comments if they are available. So let's talk about what tonight's conversation is. And it is if you know the red flags in a relationship. If you know the red flags in a relationship, meaning if you are in a new relationship and you see things that you know are not right, or can you recognize those things that you know are not right? So that is the topic for the evening. And while you guys are thinking about that, you can also start leaving your comments down below. And we will recap on last week's episode, which is the difference between having sex and making love. I pretty much read an article or two or three last week. I didn't really give my opinion, but my opinion is pretty much what I read in the article. I did kind of give a little bit of my opinion, but for those of you that are kind of confused between making love and having sex is just that. It's just sex. There's no emotional connection. There are no strings attached. It's just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's it. Okay. Making love would be you have an emotional connection to your partner. There's some kind of feelings there. You want to please each other. It's not just a quick. Well, it can be a quickie, but it's not a quickie. You're gonna take your time. You will probably romance. You will probably do a little foreplay. Things like that. And for sex, you won't get that. It's just in the sheets. I'm gone. That's it. Call you when I need you. Whatever. That's it. So, yeah. So that's the difference between making love and having sex. And let's jump right into episode number 12. Again, like I said, Adults After Dark airs every Friday. Right now, the schedule may change, but right now it's on Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And again, this is a audio conversation. It is for adults 18 and over. So please do not listen to these conversations in front of minors. because the language may not be suitable, the topics may not be suitable, and we don't want to get in any trouble. If you are leaving comments, we ask that you be respectful of one another. We are all adults here and we will treat each other as such. Okay? So, again, tonight's topic is red flags in a relationship. Now, red flags don't always necessarily mean being in a toxic relationship, being abused or things of that nature. Sometimes red flags can be, say that you are a neat freak. Not even necessarily a neat freak, but you like your home or your apartment or wherever you reside a certain way, and you meet a young man or a young woman, and you go to their home, go visit them, y'all go hang out, kick it, and they got dishes all in the sink and clothes here and clothes on the floor, the bed not made, the house just a mess. Okay. Now, to me, that's a red flag that that person is not as tidy. They may be clean, but they're not as tidy as you are. Perfect example. My husband. When I met my husband, I met him at a lounge. I went out with some of my coworkers, and we went to a lounge. I think it was someone that they knew birthday or something, and I met him there. Now, I like my house to be clean. I like things to be where they need to be. I believe that there is a place for everything. Okay. When I met my spouse, my boyfriend, he was my boyfriend, of course, at the time. I went over to his house, and a red flag. He was not tidy. Okay. And what I mean is, he had his laundry all over the couch. He had laundry on the bed. His dining room table, you couldn't even see the dining room table. He had dishes all in the sink. Trash built up, piled up. And now he will clean up, but he has this thing that, like his dining room table, he will put stuff on the dining room table, and that's where it would be, and that's where he can find it, instead of saying, like, get in a folder or binder or some kind of storage bin to put these papers in or what have you. Red flag that he's not as tidy as I would like him to be. So my daughter and I, my mother, a friend of mine, and my daughter's boyfriend at the time, we had went to Florida. We had took a trip to Florida. Now, mind you, this particular time I was just meeting my boyfriend, now spouse, right? And so the friend that went with us was a guy that I was actually seeing. Now, I told my boyfriend about this guy, and he understood, the trip was already planned before we met, so it was no problem. And he had some issues with his apartment. Now, I gave him the key to my apartment to, keep an eye on everything. And some issues went on at his apartment. So by him having the key to my apartment, he came to my apartment, right, and stayed for a few days. Now, mind you, we were in Florida for about a week. And when I called him, he said whatever was going on at his apartment and that he was at my place. And so when I got home, he came down and got the luggage out the car, and my house was a mess. I was so furious. because my house was a mess. Red flag. I knew that you live that way, but you don't come to somebody else's home and treat it that way. I was too upset. So I said what I had to say to him, cleaned my house up, and told him whatever's going on at your house, you need to go home because I can't do this, right? So that's one red flag. I knew his apartment was like that because I have been over there and I've helped him clean his apartment, okay? Now the person that I went to Florida with kept his house was immaculate. Do you hear me? He had his towels folded a certain way. He had stuff put where it's supposed to be. I'm talking about you could eat off the floor, honey. There wasn't no dust in the corners. Red flag, which is a good red flag. Now, another red flag. Let's jump into being in a toxic relationship. Now, I have a firm belief that you treat people how you want to be treated. Okay, say you're female and you met this guy. That depending on how that guy treats another woman, treat his mother, treat his sister, his grandparents, other people, you can kind of know a little bit about how they were raised. If you find somebody that talks crazy to their parent, talks crazy to their child, talks crazy to another female, then you can kind of know what's going to happen with you, right? If I believe that if a person hits you, I believe that if a person hits you, say you're female and the man hits you, that's a red flag. I believe that if they hit you once, they'll hit you again. Okay. Now, I've mentioned this before in a few episodes back that I was in a toxic relationship. And the guy that I was with, he hit me several times. We actually hit each other. Okay. Now, that's a sign. If he hits you, he will hit you again. If he cusses you out, he will do it again. All of those are red flags. Okay. If he talks about you, if he puts you down, if he talks bad about you and you don't care how you feel, that's a red flag. Okay. So you have to look out for certain things, and I can say that if you get into a new relationship, don't move too fast, because it's like everything is new, so everything is going to be all good. You're not going to have any issues. You may have a little spat here and there, but once you get further into the relationship is when you really start seeing people. So when you first get into a relationship, they're going to do everything in their power to be good to you, to be a goody two shoes, to treat you right until they get you where they want you. Okay, so you have to look out for that and keep your guards up. Okay, if you see these red flags, if you see these signs, then that means you need to bounce. Okay, you need to go, especially if you know your worth. You are worthy of a lot. Okay, know your worth. Okay. And the same goes for men, because we have some abusive women out here. Okay. So you find a lot of men that is actually being abused by their girlfriend or their wives, but they won't say anything because men don't talk about it. Men are supposed to be the strong one, the provider, the protector. And a lot of men are taught, well, I think every man is actually taught not to hit women. But then you have those that do, then you have those that just take it. Now, I'm also a firm believer of, if you're a female, and I used to tell my daughter this all the time, if you and your boyfriend are arguing and you swing on him, say you slap him or whatever, be prepared to get slapped back, because you might get the one of those ones that, as long as you don't hit me or put your hands on me, it's gonna be fine. We can argue all day long, but once you put your hands on me, then we have a problem. So I've always told her, don't hit your significant other unless you're prepared to get hit back. And men are much stronger than women, and they will knock the hell out of you. Okay, so that's a red flag. Hit me once, you will hit me again. Okay, curse me out once, you would do it again. Talk down on me once, you would do it again. Okay, talk bad about me, call me out my name, and all of that, you would do it again. So you have to pay attention to those things when you're entering into a new relationship. And it's not that, oh, if he's not cussing me out or hitting me, he don't love me. Honey, love does not hurt. Okay, you do not need that. Know your worth. Okay, you don't want to be walking around with black eyes and wearing sunglasses at night and bruised up and everything, and lying to people talking about, oh, I hit my head on the counter, or I ran into the door. No. And that man, if he respect you and care about you and is a man, he shouldn't want that either. He should not want to walk down the street with you and you got a black eye. He shouldn't want to walk down the street with you and you got a broken arm, or your leg broken, or whatever. Okay? You shouldn't want that, and neither should he. Know your worth. Okay? So most definitely pay attention to the red flags. I promise you, they're there. Okay? They are there. You may not see them at first, but they're there. Now, if you're one of those women like me that has been in abusive relationships, and you could get out of it, your first thing is gonna be like, I ain't taking no shit from nobody. So you're gonna pay attention. And for me, that's what I did. If I felt that something wasn't right, I moved on. Now, your first man, always listen to it, because your first man is always correct. If you feel that that's not the person that you should be with, don't be with them, because that's a red flag. Your intuition is a red flag. Okay? Okay. So, of course, y'all know I'm always on the internet looking for something. So, this is in a magazine called Women's Health. And it is 24 signs that you're in a toxic relationship and you need to let it go. So it says, if they make you feel like no matter what you're doing, it always seems to be wrong, that's a red flag. Okay. Okay. Now this is from a marriage and family therapist, and it is a female named Jane Greer. She has a PhD, and she is the author of What About Me? Stop Selfishness from Ruining Your Relationship. You should be concerned the minute your partner makes you feel you're not good enough. If they make you feel like no matter what you're doing, it always seems to be the wrong thing, and that no matter how hard you try, it's never going to be enough to please your partner, those are red flags. Be on the lookout for these under the radar signs that you are in a toxic relationship and need to get the fuck out. And that's exactly what it says, need to get the fuck out. Now, mind you, this is 24 signs that you're in a toxic relationship and the red flags. Number one, your significant other always finds something wrong with you. A partner who offers unsolicited suggestions for what you need to improve, doesn't support your interests or hobbies, and fundamentally criticize aspects of who you are is definitely toxic. Okay? That's why it is so important to keep your support system active or in place. You really want to maintain a sounding board for yourself, meaning once you start to get criticized or put down, you can balance it out by talking to the people you love and trust. Now, I'm going to say this. The hell with talking to people that you love and trust. I mean, that's cool too. You can talk to them, but this is a red flag. Once they start putting you down and criticizing you, that's a red flag. They do it once, they're going to do it again, and it's going to get worse. This is why a lot of domestic situations end in fatalities. They end detrimental because there were red flags and the other person didn't pay attention. They figure since they don't love me if they don't hit me, or if they get hit they think it's their fault. It's something that they did wrong. They're making excuses. It's not your fault. Whether you're male or female, it's not your fault. Okay. It says you don't want to invest all of your beliefs in your partner's opinion. Keep other opinions around you and use that to balance what you're being told. Number two, it says they strip away your self-esteem. Toxic partners like picking at you. If you hear criticizing statements on a regular basis, that's a problem. Watch comments like, I don't like that dress. Cut your hair. I don't like it. I don't like that. Why are you wearing so much makeup? Why do you have to see your friends tonight? I thought you were going to stay home. I thought you were going to cook dinner tomorrow night and Saturday night. I don't want to go out. Those are red flags. Okay? These kind of comments strip away your self-esteem. You start to feel badly about yourself and begin to doubt your own judgment. You're consistently thinking, what can I do to make things better? In my opinion, when you start seeing things like this, it's time to go. That's how you can make it better. Because like I said, again, it's going to get worse, and it's going to get significantly worse. Okay? Then they're going to start putting you down in front of their friends, slapping you around in front of their friends, telling you what to do in front of their friends. And that's not cool. That is not cool. Number three says there's a clear imbalance of power. Try asking yourself who has more power in a relationship. If there is too clear cut to answer, it suggests a problem. Ideally, relationships are a union between equal. Surely every aspect of a relationship won't have perfectly balanced power dynamics, or at least not all the time, but overall it should balance out. Number four, they're controlling and excessively jealous. If your partner can't bear the thought of you not being by their side, you need to rethink that relationship. A partner who insists on being hyper close and doing everything together, or doesn't allow you to be yourself, and is consistently monitoring or questioning your whereabouts and intentions, is indicative of a toxic relationship. Okay, so meaning that you're no longer your own person. You're gonna go where they say, do what they say. You all are always together. You can't go visit your friends. You can't go visit your family. It's just over. It's just you two, and that's it all the time. Number five, you're not practicing self-care. On that note, signs of a toxic relationship aren't all about your significant other's behavior. Your own behavior patterns can be a red flag too. A toxic relationship is when you're not engaging in self-care. A toxic relationship is when you're not engaging in self-care. Self-care is vital for every relationship to keep toxicity out. Without it, you're not bringing your best self to the party. If you're neglecting me time for any reason, say your partner is off the charts needy, or you're voluntarily dropping all your personal activities in favor of their schedule, it's a sign a relationship is turning toxic. That's another red flag. Number 6, you keep waiting and hoping for them to change. Guys, they're not going to change. Again, it's going to get worse. Okay? It's going to get worse. A lot of bad behaviors that make relationships toxic would be deal breakers for a healthy, functional relationship. For a relationship to be toxic, not only does it require toxic behavior for one party, but also a willingness to stay, perhaps predicted on the false hope of potential partner change from the other partner. In other words, you stick around in hopes that your person will quit whatever behavior their behavior is making things tough. Here's the thing though, when you're in a toxic relationship, your judgment is often clouded and you're putting your faith in change that will never come. That might explain why people need to realize that just because you can find some positive aspects of the relationship doesn't mean that you should stay in it. Number 7, you feel very insecure. When you're in a healthy relationship, there's a significant back and forth where you're complimenting each other, bringing out the best in each other, and letting each other know, I care about you. I'm here for you. There is not a lot of this going on in a toxic relationship. So if you're in a consistent state of insecurity around your person, you are not in a healthy relationship, period. Red flag, guys. Number 8 red flag says your significant other never takes responsibility. A gentle reminder to your partner to please pick up the wet towels end up in a fight, literally, because you knew they were going through a stressful week at work, and why would you even bring that up right now? Jeez. Yeah, that's a trait of a toxic relationship. Healthy people can take feedback and course correct. A toxic partner may blame you for the fact that they hurt your feelings. Something they may qualify as specific type of emotional abuse. This goes both ways. We look at how the other person affects us, but we also need to look at how we're affecting our partners. If you are consistently turning things around on your partner, you may be the one fueling the toxicity. Number 9, your partner is consistently stonewalling you. Having a fight doesn't mean your relationship is toxic. If your significant other is always shutting down when you try to bring up what's bothering you, that's what therapists call stonewalling. Stonewalling occurs when your partner stops listening to you and say they don't want to talk about said issues, acts unresponsive, or even straight up walks away when you want to discuss something of importance. That is a toxic relationship. That is a red flag. So every time you have a problem and you're that person that like to get the problem out and get it solved right then, they don't want to hear it. Okay, that's a red flag. It's going to happen again. They want you to listen to them, but they're always right. They don't want to listen to you. Healthy couples are open to each other's feedback. You should be invested in each other's happiness and seeing what you can both do to communicate more effectively. Number 10 says, your family and friends are concerned. This sign can be especially tricky to figure out. Your sister or friend might not like this person and they start to say stuff like, why is he talking to you like that? Or why is he doing that? But the problem is that they're coming from a protective place. So what they're saying can end up coming across negative or controlling, which is the exact opposite of how you want to feel, since you've been dealing with this from your toxic partner. Your natural instinct is to try to filter out what they're saying and react with, don't tell me what to do. But before you do that, take a deep breath and ask them for a simple question. Why do you feel that way? Perhaps their response will help you see things in the different view. Number 11 says you don't have the type of trust you should have. In a healthy relationship, trust builds over time. As you get to know each other and you're wondering if you can believe that what your partner tells you is truthful, truthfulness can be confirmed by your partner's action. They come through in the way they say they will. In a toxic relationship, this often doesn't happen, but they won't follow through on their promises, or they'll be super into you one weekend and completely disinterested in the next. Another red flag is number 12. You often feel worse when you're with them. When you're in a healthy relationship, you want to be with your person, not all the time, but often. In a toxic relationship, it's the opposite. Think that you miss them and that you want to see them, but as soon as you see them, you feel down or insecure. And maybe they're doing something to make you feel insecure. They're not giving you their full attention, perhaps on their phone when they're talking to you, or they start off the conversation with a put down. That's a red flag. Regardless, though, you should not feel worse when you're around your significant other. That's just wrong. Number 13 is you feel drained. Okay, you feel drained. If your relationship feels like it's literally sucking the energy out of you, that's a primo example of toxicity. It might even manifest physically, like if you were tired all the time. A toxic relationship can actually make our bodies unhealthy. It's vital to pay attention to these signs and to know how your body is reacting. Number 14 says your partner is always offering constructive criticism, even if you don't ask. Ideally, you want to find a partner who makes you a better version of yourself, right? Someone who supports, encourages, and challenges you can sometimes be confused for someone who is really criticizing you. If your partner consistently asks if you really need to eat that extra piece of pizza, and when you push it back, they get defensive, saying they're only trying to help. This is not helping you. This is about controlling you. Controlling behavior is usually present in a toxic relationship. Don't confuse manipulation or control freak tendencies with being nice or helpful. Number 15, if you don't feel like yourself around them. Your significant other should love you for who you are, but if you can't be yourself or don't feel like yourself around them, then that's a red flag. Think about your current relationship. Maybe they say things that make you feel like they don't even know you at all. If they say things like, "You're not that kind of girl," or "You wouldn't understand that anyway," they're making assumptions that telling you the kind of person that you want to be rather than loving you for who you are. Number 16 says they don't bring out the best in you. The best you could be is someone who is really confident and is a lot of fun and doesn't have trust issues. But if you become the opposite of that when you're around your partner, you have low self-esteem. You don't want to do fun things. You're doubting everything they say. You might want to reassess your relationship. Basically, if you were a happy, confident boss babe before you met them, nothing should change. In other words, don't let nobody change you. If they're not in a relationship with you to uplift you, bring out the best in you, make you do better. You guys work on upcoming with each other and not bringing each other down. Then you don't need that person. That's a red flag as well. Number 17, you don't have a positive feeling about your future. As relationship starts unwinding, you're getting to know each other. At some point, people talk about the future. Usually after a couple of months, there's talk of exclusivity. But in a toxic relationship, the talk may never come, or the big talk of marriage. Oftentimes, in a toxic relationship, you don't know where you stand with your partner. They're hot one day and cold the next. Number 18, they like to play games. If your person isn't talking about spicing things up in the bedroom or Monopoly, no one should be playing games in your relationship. In a healthy relationship, you learn to trust your partner will show up when they say they're going to and follow through on what they say they're going to follow through on. But in a toxic relationship, you might not even know when you're going to see them again. And sometimes those toxic people, they might not even like you until you start to pull away. Ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody got time for that. Number 19, your partner never remembers your schedule. No one expects Bae to keep track of your whereabouts all the time. And in fact, that's totally different type of toxic behavior. But they should remember the important things going on in your life and be supportive. If your partner asks you to help them move on the same day, you're preparing for your desperation. They may have a blind spot for how their actions are affecting other people. If this happens once or twice, it's not necessarily unhealthy. We all go through ebbs and flows in life. It's give and take, not a consistent. So we need to be open up to that. But if your partner is routinely forgetting about your big presentations at work or is consistently asking you to do favors for them when you've mentioned you're overwhelmed, that's a sign of toxic. Number 20. They're always blaming other people for their problems. If your partner is always blaming someone else for why things aren't going well, whether that person is you, their boss, their mom, their CrossFit trainer, that can be a big sign of toxic behavior. Part of being in a healthy relationship of any kind means owning your feelings and working through them, not pointing fingers. Number 21. If your significant other is super competitive with you, a little competition in a relationship is a good thing, especially if it pushes you toward a PR in that running challenge you took on as a couple. Healthy couples support each other's goals and are happy when each has won. Competitiveness crosses into toxic territory though, when your partner makes you feel bad or guilty for your achievement. If you find yourself hiding your wins out of fear that they'll get jealous or insecure, that's a toxic situation. Number 22, you feel like you do all the work in your relationship. In every relationship, there's a natural division of labor. Maybe you always make the restaurant reservations because you're on the pulse for new date night spots on Instagram. Meanwhile, your partner is awesome at making sure you're prioritizing together time in your busy schedules, initiating plans to begin with. A healthy relationship is a partnership with both of you co-creating your fulfillment. If you feel like you are suddenly doing all the heavy lifting, especially if your partner doesn't seem to notice, the balance has become toxic. Make sure you're not the only one contributing to the day-to-day activities or long-term visions of your relationship. If you feel that you are, it is time for a sit-down convo with your man or woman. A one-sided relationship is never going to end in your favor. Number 23, you're always making excuses for their bad behavior. If you're always trying to rationalize your partner's action, whether it's their emotional unavailability, lack of empathy, habit of being obnoxious to your friends, or lack of support, that's a problem. Everyone has stressful weeks and things they need to work on, but if your partner isn't listening to your concerns or trying to improve, you may want to at least consider a split. It's extremely difficult, impossible to work through issues if your significant other isn't willing to acknowledge their part. And number 24, the relationship is borderline abusive. It's a slippery slope between a toxic relationship and an outright abusive one. If the person you're dating is going out of their way to hurt your self-esteem, or going out of their way to put you down and make you feel trapped in a relationship, that could indicate you're in an abusive relationship. If you hear comments that trap you into a relationship by making you believe wouldn't be happier not being in it, who else would date you besides me? Or I'm the best that ever happened to you. You're likely dealing with a toxic person. Seeking professional help via a therapist can help you regain your confidence so you can break free of that destructive thought pattern. The longer you stay in a toxic relationship, the harder it can be to remove yourself from it and start a new healthy relationship with the partner who deserves you for your sake and theirs. Don't wait to make moves. So that was a pretty good article, guys. This was in this is what's the name of this magazine? Women's Health Magazine. And those are the 24 signs that you're in a toxic relationship and need to go, the red flags. And then, guys, we have in Prevention Magazine, 15 red flags in a relationship that you should pay attention to. The first one is love bombing, lack of appreciation. Let me read what love bombing is. Love bombing, or rushing into a relationship too quickly, often with grand gestures and signs of emotional manipulation, can be a big red flag because it often means they feel like they're filling a hole in their life. They're grabbing onto you because you're the answer to everything. They're not probably in a healthy place for themselves, which can certainly lead to larger issues down the road. Number two, lack of appreciation. On the other end of the spectrum is feeling as though your partner doesn't cherish you. Maybe they stop sending you texts and to check in throughout the day. They don't surprise you with flowers or coffee anymore, or they don't compliment you or tell you I love you. Feeling unappreciated and even unloved can not only be hurtful, but it is it's also part of making you feel like you need them, and it makes your self-esteem go down. Over time, it makes you doubt your own competence and your ability to get to a better relationship. Boundary crossing. Someone crossing your boundaries is a huge red flag. Boundaries are some things you put out there because they protect you, and they say, "Hey, if you respect me and you're gonna stay in my life, then don't do this." If they cross boundaries more than once, they're likely to keep crossing more boundaries over time. Number four, lack of communication. Problems are inevitable in any relationship, but communication is what helps to work through tough spots and disagreements. If someone shows an unwillingness to communicate or signs of emotional unavailability, it is essential that shutting the other person down whenever they try to raise concern also makes the person feel completely neglected, invalidated, and almost questioning their own reality. It is perfectly acceptable to feel overwhelmed and suggest a later time to talk about the issue because productive communication is important. Number five, unwillingness to compromise. Even if a person is willing to communicate about the issues in the relationship, being unwilling to compromise, stubborn, or selfish over time may lead the other person to feel that they are compromising too much of themselves to be satisfied with the relationship. It can be a lonely feeling when you feel that you are doing all the work to make a better relationship. Number six, gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of manipulation and blame shifting that often comes down to the fact that the person is not validating your experiences and reality. So you agree to disagree, but for your partner to negate your thoughts, feelings, and perspective is extremely unhealthy and can lead to feelings of insecurities and even questioning your own sanity. Seven is inconsistency. If you feel as though you're always on your toes and you're unable to predict what's going on, your partner is likely being inconsistent with you in ways of their words and action. This makes you cling to the person even more and develop like an addiction to that person to try to please them. You should never feel as though you have to work for someone's love, and you deserve a sense of security in all relationships. Number eight, put downs. The way someone speaks to you is important, and being understanding and kind is number one in all sorts of relationships. If someone feels that they always need to be right, um, and they always put you in the wrong when they're wanting to see you in a poor light, is very bad. Your partner should be uplifting you in all aspects and work with you amicably when disagreements and issues arise. Number 9, controlling behavior. Lots of times, red flags are difficult to spot because they're not always very obvious from the start. However, these red flags usually begin to form in the gradual coercive control, which can include limiting where you go without the person, always asking where are you when you're not together, dictating how you dress, asking for your password to social media and email accounts, or maybe just hacking into them. They justify these things by saying, oh, it's only because I care about you so much and I don't want to have to worry about you. Number 10, alienation. People who try to alienate you from others is a big one. This is a specific and dangerous form of control, which means a person is likely trying to keep you to themselves for ulterior motive. A huge warning signs of potential issues down the road. There is a big difference between giving their 2 cents about the relationship they feel is hurting you and allowing you to make your own decisions, or using controlling, powering words like, no, you can't, I won't let you, you have to do this, etc. Number 11, excessive lying. Lying, especially if it becomes a pattern, will certainly affect your trust in your partner that could ultimately be a deal breaker. Catching your partner in lies, whether they're small or big, can be difficult to deal with and make it hard to build a solid, trustworthy foundation necessarily for a healthy relationship. Number 12, jealousy. Jealousy is a natural feeling, but when it becomes so large and overbearing that it affects the way a relationship functions, it's definitely a cause for worry. Jealousy can present in 2 forms: a feeling of lack in the relationship or insecurity. If someone is needing more of you, they might be jealous of your job or the time you spend with friends, which can be worked through. But if the jealousy is coming from a feeling of insecurity within themselves, not feeling worthy or good enough to keep somebody, this can lead to be controlling behavior and is much harder to contend with. A lack of trust in you, your behavior, your decision making can also come from many places and has the ability to make you feel very poorly. Some people were simply brought up in a way that made them behave in a way where they must verify the truth being presented to them, or they've been treated as if it's the norm or not trust people. Regardless of the way this lack of trust presents itself, the most important thing to consider is the idea of controlling versus helpful. Are they offering support in your endeavors, or are they seeking to limit your actions? From there, you can determine whether the behavior can be addressed or worked on. While many of the red flags above fall under the category of emotional abuse, it's worth repeating. If anyone verbally, emotionally, physically abuse you, leave as soon as possible and seek support. It's not worth salvaging, and you definitely need to walk away. Number 14 is abuse. While many of the red flags above fall under the category of emotional abuse, it's worth repeating. If anyone, again, verbally, emotionally, physically abuse you, leave as soon as possible and seek help. It is not worth salvaging and definitely need to walk away. You definitely need to walk away. Number 15, hot and cold behavior. Often, when a partner is hot and cold, it means they've made it a habit to act poorly or hurt your feelings and follow up with lots of apologizing. Usually, apologies will come in the form of romantic things like flowers and gifts and saying, I'll never do it again, just to win you back. It gives you hope that the relationship is going to change, and then what happens in these relationships is that it creates selective attention where you only remember good moments and forget about some of the bad ones. This can be a very hard cycle to break free from. It is so important to identify the behavior early on. Is a red flag always a deal breaker in a relationship? It should be. It really should be. But it says not necessarily. It depends on how serious the red flag is. I think all of the red flags are serious, especially in these cases here that I've been reading. Then you need to run fast. Okay. It says a red flag is generally a point of concern for the person who spots one, but can be an opportunity for the person who spots the red flag to learn something about themselves, their partners, and their relationships. Red flags in a relationship might be scary once you spot them, but they can offer more clarity and understanding that can ultimately help you move forward with that person or help you decide that it's time to walk away and break up. Now, next one says how to handle red flags in a relationship. Once you've identified potential red flags in your relationship, there are questions you need to ask yourself, including whether you should walk away from this relationship or try to salvage it, and how you should address these red flags with your partner. Pretty much everybody is messed up in some way. Nobody is perfect. So we're going to see a red flag in absolutely everybody. That's just a given. But those red flags are those red flags you can handle? Or are they red flags that are going to be problematic for you and your relationship style? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves when issues and red flags inevitably crop up in our relationship. The first step in these situations is identify what you need and want in a relationship. Being honest with yourself and your partner. If you find a red flag in your relationship, identify what the red flag means to you. If it's minor, communicating with your partner your perspective about it can be helpful. Try to make the communication as calm and productive as possible to truly see how your partner feels about your concerns. Additionally, your approach should be less insinuating that they did something wrong and more about pointing out their behaviors or pointing out an inconsistency and then asking them what they think it means. If your partner is unable or unwilling to see your point of view, discuss the issues in a calm manner, and ultimately cannot give you what you need, it may be time to walk away. And when you walk away, you need to lean on the support of your family and friends. Contact them, reach out for support, and have a game plan. If you are in an abusive relationship, you should contact the domestic violence hotline. I don't have that domestic violence hotline number here, but I did have it in a previous video, and I believe It was about abuse or either a toxic relationship. I'm not sure which one, but you can always find the domestic violence hotline online, or you can call in your state. Where in our state it is 311, I believe it is, or even if you call 911, they can help you out with that. If you work in the medical field, or if you go to a community health clinic, a lot of those clinics have behavioral health. I know our clinic that I work in has behavioral health, so they do what they call a PQ9, which is like depression. You know, they will ask you, even when they're doing like the vital signs, like the medical assistants are doing the vital signs, they ask you, are you in an abusive relationship, or are you in a home where you fear someone, or things like that. So there's help out here. You can always find it. But again, guys, know the red flags. Now, like I said, me personally, I've dealt with it before, and I'm not dealing with it again. So certain red flags would hit me, and like, oh no, I'm not dealing with that again. Okay. Know your worth, ladies and gentlemen. And I say ladies and gentlemen because men get abused too. Whether you're heterosexual or in a same-sex relationship, it happens. Now, again, know your worth. Okay. Pay attention to the red flags. If you think you need to get out, listen to your first mind. Your first mind is always correct. Okay, always. So listen to your first mind and know your worth. Pay attention to the red flags. Okay, guys. So we're going to end this audio conversation right here. Again, this is episode number 12. What are the red flags in a relationship? And like I said again, all the red flags does not have to be in a toxic relationship. Like I said, for me, one of them was not being as tidy as I would like them to be. And then there is the other one of toxicity. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to end this right here. You guys be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video. Share the audio. You never know who you might help. Go ahead and check out episodes 1 through 11. You can still leave comments on there. We will talk about those comments if there is anything to talk about. And you guys have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, or whenever you're listening to this. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.